Hey everyone, I'm back and I'm hoping to get this one out tonight too because it's Friday and pretty soon it's the end of the month. I think there's only 30 days in this month, but we're going to be looking at the Luckfox Core3566, which I don't realize I hadn't made a video about yet. I really like these, and one of my recent videos about the Desk Pi 6C, which is this bad boy here, was a long video, but if you didn't watch it, I got it working. It was essentially just a bit of confusion about the labels, but I used the Luckfox Core3566 in that, and I really do like these. There's a reason that I stock them, there's a reason that I use them, and we'll get into that. We'll also benchmark them, compare them to like Raspberry Pis, have a look at their costs, have a look at what boards you can put them on, and see how much power they consume. So stick around till the end if you want to see all that. I may or may not give one away, I haven't decided yet. I don't think I've got enough stock to give one away yet, but I do have something else I will give away that I'll tell you a little bit more about shortly too. Now, as far as the camera and all my setup goes, this is finally the new computer. It is all working. The Brio, I've turned off autofocus. So I've got a little V4L2 script that I can change the focus between 50 and 10 when I want to. As a quick demonstration, check this out. Let's just go that. And now that's out of focus, but up here it looks good. Well, about there. So that's going to stop all that jumping around, which I do apologize for. As I said, still trying to improve all of this. Now, there are 9 variants of this. If we have a look over at their website, you can see I've got 3 in stock here that I keep, and they're pretty much, I mean, they're self-descriptive, you can see in the descriptions there, but they're pretty well priced as well as far as I'm concerned. There are 9 versions all up though, because you've got 2 or 4 gig of RAM. I didn't even keep the page open. 2 or 4 gig of RAM. You've got eMMC on board or not, which is a 32 gig eMMC, and you've got with and without Wi-Fi. So I've got a few variants in stock, and I've also got the IO boards from in stock, and I will get more. What I'll do though is I'll open up back orders for all variants because I do need to place another Luckfox back order, and then depending on what gets ordered, I'll get them in stock because, you know, that's obviously what you want. The few that's left though will go to the first orders, and I'm not sure what the lead time is probably going to be. I'll say it's going to be about 4 weeks to get more. That's the normal lead time for these sorts of things that are manufactured by demand. So what is CM4? Well, first of all, it is essentially this form factor. So if we have a look at this board, this is a CM4 or Compute Module version 4. That's a bit dirty. CM stands for Compute Module, and it's essentially just everything that you need without the peripherals. And I'm not even sure who first came up with it, but they are really handy in modular because I like to change things around a fair bit. So this works for me. And what they're really known for is these 2 B2B 100 pin connectors that, for lack of a better term, feel crunchy when you put them in. You'll see what I mean. But this is the CM4 board, the 3566. Now I think this is the 2 gig RAM, 32 gig eMMC, which you can see down here, and it's the Wi-Fi version. So it's got the antenna port and the dented Wi-Fi module there. You've of course got your little reset button if need be, or your boot button. So that's for flashing the SPI flash, I believe, if you have to upload a new firmware, a new bootloader. But the instructions in their documentation are really good. So as you can see, there's obviously no input output. You can just run these headless. They could join the Wi-Fi and sit there ticking over doing whatever they need to do, which is pretty awesome, but you can get baseboards for them. So the 2 I have in stock and use are the CM4 to Pi 4 adapter and then just the CM4 IO baseboard, and I'll show them both to you. First one, which we'll look at here, this is the CM4 to Pi 4 adapter. So you can see that's your programming switch. It is very similar to a Raspberry Pi 4. And in fact, I've got one here. I'll just quickly bust out of this case to nail the point home. I don't actually like Raspberry Pis and I don't normally use them. And the reason is this case clips together really well, is because they're just too normal. I'm not sure if you've noticed the products that I stock in my shop. Why is that? Where is that clipped in? But our stock products are a little bit more bespoke. So that'll be eSBCs, as I call them, so embedded SBCs. They could be full SBCs that just don't have HDMI. There we go. It's that spot. They're designed to be used in a different way where they're going to be part of an embedded system or something. I then have a lot of RISC-V stuff because I really like RISC-V. And then I have CM4 stuff, which I'm going to start getting more stock of, and I've considered stocking the Milk V CM4, the Mars that is. So we'll see how that goes. But as you can see, let's drop this focus back a little bit. We'll go 30. They are designed to be extremely similar, essentially compatible with any accessories and cases. There is the missing audio port, which I hadn't noticed before, and this has more USB 3.0 ports, and it has more options on the back, but it is very much otherwise the same. And the benefit is that they can share cases then. So anything that you've got for the Pi 4, if you're using correctly, will fit this. The pros and cons are essentially they're cheap. These are like 40 bucks Australian, and they definitely do the job, and they can fit existing equipment. The cons are you don't have all the options. So in comes the CM4 baseboard B made by Waveshare, who is a partner company of Luckfox. Sometimes you might get Luckfox products in Waveshare boxes even. Well, in my case at least. This one's a little bit different. This is my preference, and you'll see why. So it exposes everything that the Luckfox has. So you've got your two B2B connectors. Then over here, you've got DSI connector, two camera CSI connectors. You've got your boot switch there for programming, activity, LEDs, your standard Pi 2 header. That one I think is either for power or fan, I can't remember. Your USB port, and then you've got USB 2, that I believe is the USB 3. You can add a hub to that. Gigabit Ethernet, full-size HDMI, more USB on the back, HDMI breakout on the back, RTC battery, standard SD card slot, and then you've got this M2 slot. So you can change your board voltages, you can change your real-time clock functionality, but this gives you a lot more options, and it can be used in, well, for me, my preferred manner. And it's as simple as assembling them is as simple as crunching them together, which go around that way. You can also get heat sinks and whatnot for them. The heat sinks are usually specific to the board, but this, as you'd expect, has the Rockchip 3566 in it. So it is pretty low power, and I don't actually usually stick a heatsink on it. That, again, is personal preference. Now, there are other boards that it's compatible with. So if we go back to this page, wherever I was, here, you can see they list a lot of boards. These are all available through Waveshare, but you've got different boards you can use, whether you want the standard one I just used, a bigger development board to test everything out, a board with PoE, a board built onto the back of a display, the Pi 4 one I showed you, one that's interesting. I haven't actually had a look at that. Looks like it's kind of designed for wireless control. It's got, what I'll say is relays and headers there, one that can work as a UPS, one with dual Ethernet. You got lots of options there, but it should work on anything that is CM4. Now there is CM5, which Radshare have started using. They have an extra B2B connector on the back. The things like the Radshare CM5 boards that have the extra connector along, accidentally launched Lychee Slicer, that have the extra connector along here are still compatible. As you can see, there's nothing in the way of it, and it's just extra GPIOs and USB and stuff like that that's then compatible on newer boards. So they're the options. We're going to use the CM4 IO baseboard for testing this, mostly just because it's got the HDMI full-size output, and I don't have to hunt around for any cables then. Before I do go any further, I do just want to thank PCBWay, as always, because they're continuing to sponsor this channel, which is great. They're also continuing to make epic products, which you're going to get for free, which I mentioned at the start. I'm saying which a lot for some reason, but it's also their 10th anniversary. And the reason I want to get this video out today is because that finishes tomorrow with end of month. Now, the new things from them, or from me, I guess, I'm going to have to change this zoom again. I need to make a button, a physical button for this. I don't know. These new rulers. So these new rulers, I've been working with Luckfox on. These are the Luckfox version of the ruler. So there is matte black and gold, and there is white with silver and colored UV print. So every Luckfox order is going to get one of these. I've only got about 80 to start with because these were a proof of concept. I kind of like the rainbow effect on there, but as you can see, they look mint. They will be for free in the next 80 Luckfox orders. I'm sending a couple, actually probably about 70 because I'll keep some. I'm sending a couple to Luckfox. If they approve it and they're happy with it, we're gonna make a heap more of these together and just include them in every every order, because honestly, they're handy. My missus uses them for doing scratchies. I use them for all sorts of stuff, but they're a good little reference for component sizes, or just handy to have. I use it for spreading solder paste more often than not, but I use them for all sorts. I've got them hanging, like various ones hanging next to me as well with my other tools in the workshop. Now, as far as PCBWay's 10th tool goes, oh yeah, and the quality, look, I haven't refined these. I haven't done the edges or anything. These are straight out the packet that just arrived today. I went and picked it up from the PO box before this. So that is the quality that you'll get. Even the UV print quality, which you can see looks amazing. That is the quality you'll get from PCBWay. They never fail. And they even send you pictures. Like, there was one thing that wasn't quite right, and they sent me pictures, and that's my logo because it's so tiny. And I was like, I'm happy with that. Keep going with production. So yeah, really, really good quality output. Really good customer service, and that's why I keep using them. I've tried others. I keep going back to PCBWay, and that's even before they sponsored this channel. But 10th anniversary. So if you go to their website, you'll see they've got a 10th anniversary tour, and it's only 1 day and 11 hours left. If you're already a PCBWay member, when you hit enter, it goes through your history with PCBWay. I'm going to put some pictures up on the screen now. It talks about your orders. Now, they also give you free coupons. You can make your place on the map, which I've done. You can watch another little video and get even more free coupons. You can win free prizes. I won, I don't even think it shows in these videos or the pictures that I took, but I won myself a few little tools from their module store, which I showed off in another video and is very awesome. So click the link below. Go check it out. Create an account if you haven't got one, just to win some free stuff. You could win like a $500 bit of kit and then just have to pay shipping. I'm not sure of the exact rules or what they do and they don't include, but it's worth checking out. Link below, click it, make it happen. Anyway, back to the product, because that was a long one, but I think it was worthwhile. If these ad reads actually bother you, let me know. I don't have to do them so long. I don't have to include so much information, but they allow me to make this content and they make some good products. So the specs for this CM4 board are essentially, it's a quad core A55, which is the A5 series, it's an ARM processor, are the lower power version as opposed to the 7 series, from what I understand. 2 or 4 gig of RAM, 0 or 32 gig of eMMC built in. The Wi-Fi is wireless AC with Bluetooth 5. And the Core3566 has some pretty good features. They've added a gigabit Ethernet MAC to this as well. So you do get full gigabit Ethernet on the board. Now, the 3566 can do 4K 60 FPS. Now, that's routed only to HDMI 0, which is this one. If you're using a board with dual HDMI, only HDMI 0 will work. It can do 4K 60 FPS, H.264 and 265 decoding, 1080p 60 encoding in the same formats. Full 28 GPIOs. You've got 2 MIPI CSI 2.0 2-lane and 2 MIPI CSI DSI 2.0, which is just the one mapping on here. Yeah, you don't get the second display mapping, but I'm not sure what they've done, but there are some compatible displays. It makes sense if you read the specs. They also have PCIe 2.0 1X, and they operate from -10 up to 80 degrees Celsius. So they're a rugged little thing, as you can see by how much I beat it up, but very well spec and apparently low power consumption, which we will test out. Now, compared to the Pi 4, they are actually very similar spec, which is probably why there's the Pi 4 board. Most of the interfaces are all the same. You get better USB if you're using this because the Pi 4 has USB 2 and 3, as we saw before. This is slightly cheaper depending on how you configure it, especially if you get it just as a board on its own, and it is also lower power. That's probably what I'll say is the main difference. What we'll do now though is I'll get my HDMI cord out, I'll plug it to my capture device, which can do 4K. I hope it works, I haven't tested it yet. And we'll watch this thing boot up for the first time. Hold please. All right, we have the deck link working. It just took me about 10 minutes of screwing around with cables and ports and drivers and everything. So we can actually test this out now. And what we're gonna look at first is just how quickly it boots and what it does. Then we'll test the power. Then we'll look at some of the tools that it comes with. We'll test GPU and Wi-Fi, updating it. We'll look at the images and we'll benchmark it. So let's get on with that. First things first, what I'm gonna do is plug this HDMI connection in, and I'll change now over to the capture card. So this is the capture card now. I'll tell you when it's plugged in right now. All right, so within probably a second, you've got that nice boot splash. Gonna also plug in my wireless keyboard and mouse to it. And that was a very quick boot. I would say it probably even did a disk check because I just yanked the power out of it previously, I think in the last video. That's running at 1080, it looks like. So let's go preferences. No, sorry, I'm not actually very familiar with this interface at all. There's got to be display monitor settings. All right, there we go. I was looking for display. So it says it can do 4K, 3840 by 2160 at, it's only allowing 30, but all right, let's, yep. Well, that has definitely worked. It is impossible for me to read like this now. So, what do we do? Now, we can see what it does a different time. Let's try and get back to a resolution I can actually read. You might have had the same issue there, and see how it performs. So, software graphics is painful, but it is dependent on Rockchip. So, yep, there's our 4 cores, Core3566. This is the model with 4 gig of RAM that I've got in here. It's only using 438 meg too, which is bloody good. And I mean, like 374 of that is buffers and cache. So that's pretty impressive to say the least. No swap, which is how I like it. This is going to be a crappy old kernel, isn't it? 4.19. That makes sense. If we go cat etc release, it is a Debian 10 build. So they do have Debian 10 and Ubuntu 20.04. Ubuntu 20.04 should have a new kernel, so I'll flash it with that in a minute. But this gives us the basic there. If we go, has it got GLMark 2 ES2? Interesting. I can't actually tell if there is graphics. See, like even, yeah, it's definitely struggling a bit. Is it going to spit out? There we go. GLMark score 21. So we'll test that again when we boot up to Ubuntu, which should have a slightly newer kernel at least. Does it have NeoFetch included? No, it doesn't. That's all right. Let's switch to Firefox and go to their documentation. So the docker is really comprehensive. It gives you an idea of what you're going to need. It gives you a link straight to the download, and then they explain how to flash it in different, with different modules or in different ways, which is super handy. They cover a bit of using Linux, which I think is excellent because this is of course running Linux and people may not be familiar with it. They get into the system configuration we just looked at, and then they go into what you might want to do if you're developing on this. So what editors and tools you might use, and then if you have a look at their documentation for different cameras, they explain how to use V4L2 control, what you might want to install, everything like that. They go into a fair bit of network interface. Like it's a good getting started for Linux, I reckon. They've got information on backing up your SD card. They've got a really good development platform. So they've got information all about the SDK, and there's more information about this in their GitHub repo. But they've also just got some pre-made VMs that you can grab and run, and it shows you how to get going with VirtualBox for that. They then get into programming on Linux. If you're going to be writing stuff against the SDK, how multi-threading works. It's pretty impressive. Now, when you go to download, they've got all the tools here, and then you've got the download link for the images. The VMs are there, and the image is in here. These are just the Debian images, and there's one here which I'm not sure what that's really for. Am I recording the right screen? Oh my hell, I was not even recording any of that. When I edit this, I will have to put some screenshots in, so I hope I remember to do that. I accidentally just closed the tab. So if we go back to that, you'll notice they're just the Debian images. It's actually in the getting started that they've got the link to the Ubuntu image, and you'll see in here as well that they've got an XFCE rootfs as well if you want to swap that out. So what I've got is this one here, I've already downloaded it, ARM64 HDMI Ubuntu from 23.08.24. That's what I'm going to flash it with next. They do also have a few FAQ, which can be handy, but overall, very comprehensive documentation. They can be limited by the SDK provided by Rockchip as far as what kernels and whatnot they use, but it, I think, is quite good. Now, let's actually quickly check the power consumption. That is always an interesting one, especially with these A53 and A55 chips, because they are lower power. And I kind of like that for embedded devices as well. So I've got my good old little power meter here. We'll plug this in that one. Dumb as hell. Plug into power over there. There we go. Now that's booting, and I'll just grab any other USB-C cord and we'll see what she pulls. Now, there we go. That's a bit easier for you to see. Plug that in. All right, that's fairly stable now. So I'm going to say that is booted. Yep, that's pretty stable. So booting it hit, what was that, 3.8 watts? So not even an amp. Idle, it's drawing 1.3 to 1.6 watts. That's with Wi-Fi probably auto-joined as well. So you could definitely run this off a USB type A 2.0 port or a cheap, 500 milliamp plug. It might, no, that, yeah, there's pretty much no power supply it wouldn't run off. I imagine it'll just, if it tries to draw too much, it will throttle itself slightly. So that is all in all very impressive. Now, let's flash this and then have another look. Back in a tick. So what I'll do is I'll pull up that bit of information in terminal now that we want to see, and then I will figure out what's going on with GelMark. I'll get it installed and put the details for that below. And I'll also run Geekbench on this so we get an idea of the benchmark performance, given it's an ARM processor, and I'll put the link to that below as well. So what do I want to look at here? What I say. It's a 4.19 kernel. It's not even using a 5 kernel. That is painful. So app update and app upgrade. So I will put that information below for you. Thanks again to PCBWay for continuing to sponsor this. Thanks to Luckfox for working with me. I love being a tier 1 distributor of their stuff. I love helping people in the community out, showing off boards like this, giving them away when I've got some extras. They make a really good product. Everything here, as you can see, has been software to some degree. The graphic stuff we know is a limitation of the SDK. We come across it with pretty much everything. If we can get it up to a 5.1 or 5.10 or a 6.1 kernel, that would be awesome. I don't have high hopes though, because again, Rockchip, they haven't released SDKs for most of this. I hope there's a 6 point something SDK coming, but we just don't know. So otherwise, thank you again to everyone. In case you didn't know, I do have a Patreon too. I don't know if I've got any Patreons on it, but if you want to support this channel, I'd love a bit of your money through that, and I'll give you something exclusive in return, like your name up on here, and probably some other stuff too. So hope you learned something from it. If you do have any questions, leave it in the below. I'd love your input on my testing and everything like that. I'm always trying to improve. Otherwise, have a great weekend. I'll catch you guys next time. Cheers.